Hello and welcome to Frog Engineering new video, which is the next Frog manual. There is a lot of Frog manuals coming lately, and today I'm showing another design which we did, but of course everybody has seen the title if you are watching this video. By the way, my voice still didn't heal completely, so maybe it's a little weird. And you can see I have here a kit that was labeled WA. Yeah. So a long time ago people asked me if I will make a kit for WA, and I said that I won't because it's a dead, let's say, system, old one, nobody making it anymore, and it's not so popular, not really, let's say, having the time to do it. However, as some of you probably know, the GHK design is kind of derivative of the WA. Similarly to the VFC maybe is a little more developed over the years and it's more different, but the GHK is kind of like similar in very many aspects. So for this reason I figured out that I will show something special in this video, because this is actually a GHK kit like in the previous episode, so there is no difference in the kit itself, let's say, but because of the similarities between those two systems, it's actually possible to take the GHK kit and install it in a WA gun and it will work. So I did not design anything, let's say, dedicated for WA, but in this video I'm gonna show you how to assemble an existing GHK kit into a WA gun. And WA system is so old that there are like many versions of it. There was WOC a long time ago, there was GP, King Arms did it, I don't even know how many manufacturers did it, and it recently resurfaced with some new guns from like EMG, CIMA and so on. I think Golden Eagle or some other Eagle is making the WA system too. Yeah? So for this reason I figured out, okay, let's put the GHK kit in, because maybe somebody owns this new gun that came to the market, or maybe some cool build of the old one, and this is still possible to make it run with the GHK kit, like I said. So very briefly, because not everybody interested in this video saw the GHK video, let's have a quick discussion about what's in the kit. And as always, 5.56 kits come with 3 magazines, F-mags. There is nothing new about them. They work with all the systems, all the 5 systems Frog Engineering developed, meaning VFC, WE, MWS, GHK and WA. They all use the exact same magazine. Of course there is a dedicated speed loader that you have to use in order not to break the feeding lips. This is very important, and recently replacement part for the speed loader, very useful for formatting the magazines. And there is the kit itself, and it consists of the exact same GHK conversion, QD US connector, 3 headless screws M3 for the trigger guard, 2 M2.5 screws to attach the conversion, one is conical, one is cylindrical, 3 pieces of heat shrinking tube, one wider, 2 more narrow. These 2 are the same size, this one is bigger. And of course the hose, and the hose has an integrated trigger guard. Here this is important because the design of this trigger guard is tiny bit different than the GHK's to fit the WA receiver, and there is also the protective sleeve and the protective spring here, like in all other conversions. And these trigger guards could be also in the same color as the magazines, called Frog Earth, and the hose here it's black, but it also could be green. Actually in this video I will be using the green one later on. This is just for the reference. Okay, and now the gun itself, main topic for this video. I will be converting this MK18 GBBR, as you see. This is made by some eagle, I don't remember if Golden Eagle or what eagle, double eagle, triple eagle, quadruple eagle, silver eagle, whatever. So this is a new gun in the old system, let's say. Yeah. Don't pay attention to the gun itself too much. I already replaced some of the parts because of the build, let's say, I'm doing on this one. We will focus mainly on the conversion topic. Another thing that is important to say, because before I, let's say, move on with the activities, is that unlike the previous manuals where I go kind of detailed in what you have to do to mount the conversion, here it's a little blurry because again, WA system is an old one. There was a lot of guns long time ago made with this system. There are differences between them, so you need to kind of figure out yourself based on the exact gun that you have, what applies in your case, or maybe how to do the modification I'm talking about. So here I will not be showing in a great level of detail everything I need to do, but in general I will focus on the main differences between the GHK assembly, the WA assembly, what you need to do, plus minus how. I will highlight few points, but this modification, as the kit is not dedicated to WA, is much more, let's say, tinkering, especially because of many designs and many tiny differences between the guns based on the manufacturers. So it's not like a full manual, it's more of like a guide for a person who wants to do it himself and, you know, is ready for some, you know, thinking, trying different methods or fitting different ways and so on to make it work. Okay, so you see I don't have the magazine for the gun, which I usually use as a donor for the parts. This is GHK conversion. The interface for GHK valve is different than the WA, so the WA magazine is completely useless. Yeah, you can just sell it. In GHK conversion you already have the VFC seal because it was not possible to make it with the original GHK seal from the magazine. We were replacing just the valve, and in this case you will have to get few parts that are normally not WA parts, yeah, but you need to buy them in order to be able to make the conversion. In particular, these parts are the GHK main valve, because as I said, the WA type valve is completely different, it will not fit to the conversion, and you need a hammer spring for GHK. It doesn't have to be GHK brand, probably any type would work different than WA. I will explain in more detail when we open the gun what's wrong with the WA spring. So apart from the, let's say, contents of the conversion, these two parts are needed. Let's dive into the process itself, and for this process we will have few steps, but I'm not gonna show a lot of possibilities again because my gun might not need anything to do. So normally we will have preparation of the conversion, which in this case is just assembling the valve into it. Then the second stage will be modification of the lower receiver to attach the conversion. Then the third step could be modification of the upper receiver to fit the screws attaching the conversion. We will see if we need it or not, and in your gun it could be different. And then the fourth one will be routing the hose out of the pistol grip. Then we will do some testing. Enough of the theory, let's start with the assembly. So the GHK conversion, pretty simple, similar to VFC. Here on the rear we have two screws that we will need to remove. Okay, simple as that, fell off. And now just take our brand new GHK valve and put it inside. And we put it in until it, let's say, has some resistance, then we rotate it counterclockwise for like trying to match the threads. Yeah, they will click in at some place when the threads match. In my case it happened, and right now I can screw in this valve. You can start to do it by hand. Sooner or later I will need to use the wrench. Okay, and then make sure that you really tighten the valve in place with the use of proper tool. And when you do it, the next step is to take your rear part with those two screws, put it back here on the rear and tighten those screws. When you are doing this, make sure that the rear of the conversion is aligned with this tab on the bottom, yeah? So it has a little clearance, yeah, tolerances and stuff. So it can happen that it will tilt, and you don't want this, you want it to be straight. So hold it straight, tighten the screws, and your conversion is prepared. So when the conversion is prepared, we can start to prepare the space for it in the receiver. We do the lower receiver first. For this we need to remove those two pins. So I pull it out, nothing special here, same as with all AR15s, and the upper we can put aside. So if we are already here, we can understand why we need this other spring for the hammer, what's wrong with the WA design, and what is wrong is kind of simple. If you have the hammer cocked, let's see what happens if I pull the trigger. Maybe I can show it this way. You see that it jumps, but the spring doesn't push it all the way, yeah, it's like loose, yeah, it's completely loose on this part of the movement. So there is some retention from the spring, but it ends very quickly, because as you will see when we replace it, this tip of the spring is much longer in the stock WA than on any other type of gun. And for this reason we will get very small amount of air going into our conversion, and we will not get good output, and probably the gun wouldn't even cycle correctly. So what we must do is we must put in this kind of spring that will pull the hammer all the way to the front, so that the valve knocker really knocks the valve. We don't use the WA valve that kind of worked with it. We are using GHK valve, so we need to ensure that the valve is depressed the proper amount with proper amount of force as in GHK design. So for this reason we will be removing two parts. Of course we will be removing the hammer with the spring to replace it. This is one thing, and we need to remove the trigger block here. And also, before I remove it completely, I will show you a few details so that you know what we are doing. So here you can see that the design of the bolt catch is a bit different than in other guns, right? So here we have some features to support the bolt catch on both sides. If I show it like this, you see they are elevated, yeah, and we will have to file them down, because we need to make this interface the same as in GHK basically, which means if you look on the rear of the conversion here in GHK, this one would sit here, let's say like this, flat with the top of the receiver. So on this side we will be filing that rib to be flat with the top of the receiver, and on this side in the GHK conversion you can see it's tiny bit higher if I put it this way. So we will also need to file this piece of metal to be the proper height for the conversion. We will need to do just this and then drill the attachment holes. So how do you disassemble the WA? This is one of the weird things I don't fully understand why they did it. So you need to remove the mag catch, and for those of you who doesn't know how in the AR15 to remove it, you just press it all the way in, then you can pull it up, and by rotation, yeah, counterclockwise, just remove it. Yeah, it will take a few turns. Sooner or later this part will come loose, and from the bottom the spring and the button will fall out. These we can put aside for the moment, and then we will need to remove this bolt catch assembly here, and it's not attached by any means different than like friction. Yeah? So if I pull it up strong enough, it will start to move. If you cannot lift it by hand, let's say, you can use some tool to put it somewhere, for example under the bolt catch, and try to like lift it, you know, using leverage from the receiver, let's say. And you see that now I am able, like already it went up, yeah. So I will do it a few more times here and there. And I will pull it out, yeah. So this is the assembly. Weird that it's so bended on here. But anyway, if you look inside, you see that the receiver on the bottom is like shallow, yeah, it's just a shell. This is probably a molded part, molded from metal, let's say, like injected metal part, I mean. What can I say? They wanted to prevent some sink marks, so there is, or maybe reduce weight. So it's kind of empty inside, yeah. If I light this up, you can see the shape. And in the milled receivers it's not like this, that opening, I mean this opening here, in which the bolt catch assembly goes is like rectangular, it doesn't go up, yeah. So it has more space to attach, but we should be able to attach only to this part. So for now the receiver we can put aside, we will be back to the hammer and so on later. And let's focus on this part. So what modifications we'll have to do with this part again? We will flatten out this piece of metal that is here on the side that has to be the same height as the receiver, yeah, so on this one. On this side of the bolt catch, the height above the receiver is 1.7 millimeter, yeah, but it's just my case, you need to measure because it's highly probable in your case it would be different. So here I will go 1.7 millimeters lower, and on this side it's 6 millimeters above the receiver surface, and I would need to go to 2.6 millimeters above the receiver surface, because as I said, this side of the attachment you can see is a bit higher. The difference between them is 2.6 millimeters right now, you see. So here it's higher than here. What I need to do to, let's say, have a clean working area, I will take out the bolt catch from this part, yeah. I will take it apart and I will work with those two halves separately, and I will show you the result in a moment. How to disassemble it? There is a pin here for the bolt catch, there is a screw here, you remove it and then you can take it apart. Okay, so here I have already modified parts, and here on top you can see what I, let's say, took out of this assembly, yeah? So there is the valve knocker, there is the bolt catch, there is a pin that was pushing on the bolt catch on the bottom, there is the return spring for the bolt catch, there is the return spring for the hammer, there is a pin for bolt catch axis, and a screw that held those two halves together, right? So now, if you look, the proper orientation in the gun would be like this. You see these silver surfaces are how I filed them, yeah? Completely flat. The dimensions I already mentioned. So before we put all these parts back in, the best would be to just take the screw this together. And here again, as I said, I'm not fully sure how this assembly will look like in another WA gun, yeah. So it's in general the same, but it could be tiny bit different. So if you see any differences, maybe you need to, you know, let's say, act accordingly. This way the part is assembled, and now I will put it in the gun because I need to find out where to drill the holes. The conversion has to be in the middle of the magwell and so on, so it will be much easier to find the proper place to drill with the part inserted, yeah? So all these parts I just put aside for now, and with the lower receiver and this block we can combine them. Let's say we need to push it all the way in, make sure that it's really till the end, and of course you can check if this surface is at 0 with the surface of the receiver, and this surface should be 2.6 as I said. But another thing I can do is, now I can easily fit my conversion in here. You see it goes in nicely, yeah? And I will take one of my magazines because I want to make sure that the conversion is positioned correctly together with the magazine, yeah? So what I will do is I will put in the magazine, I will put in the conversion. So I have a perfect positioning of the parts right now. And what I will do, I need to mark where I drill in order to make the holes. And here this is maybe a bit tricky, because the surfaces on which the conversion rests right now are not kind of even, yeah? You see here in the hole there is just a part of the silver surface I filed. Here there is half of the screw in the silver, half of the screw would be in the black, yeah? If I take out the conversion quickly to show you, you see, so I will drill half of the hole here, and here the hole just below that rib. But it's fine, yeah, you will see when I finish. I will first drill these holes, and as always I will go with 1 mm drill, then 1.5, then 2 mm, then thread it, and you will see how it all fits together and that there is no issue, yeah. It will be better to show it than to try to explain it right now. And last thing, of course you want to patch this rear part so that the debris doesn't fall in here. So to make it just a bit easier for myself, I will remove the hammer with the spring. Anyway, I need to, you know, replace that spring. It will be easier to patch it with tissues without it, yeah? So let's remove it. Here there are these anti-rotation links. I guess you know how it works. Just remove the screw and it comes out on this side. And with this anti-rotation links gone, you can punch out the pin, yeah? Just comes out and the hammer comes out. Let's not lose the parts here. And if we are already doing this, maybe we can also have a look on the springs, right? So you can see the difference, how much longer the original one is compared to the GHK. And this is the reason why the hammer is not going full to the front, let's say. So this spring goes away and we will replace it with this one when we will be assembling it all together. Okay, so very quickly, 1mm holes. This one seems very close, but you will see it will be fine. Also, what I did not say is that there is like a step here inside. I don't know if this is nicely visible. So if you have very narrow metal here, you can drill all the way into this step, and basically for the attachment, instead of these short screws like the screws used for the GHK conversion, you could use some very long screws that would go all the way into that bigger metal portion on the bottom. It will be just fine. It's the same way how the 7.62 guns from VFC are done. They have a valve knocker block that has no thread at all. It's just inserted in the receiver, and the attachment screws go all the way down below that, and they catch the receiver there, and we attach the conversions with those screws, and it's fine, yeah? So no worries here. Okay, you see I did the 1.5mm. Now I'm going to actually 2.05. This is the diameter for threading, yeah? So let's do it. And these are my 2mm, 0.5 actually holes, and I will thread through, yeah? So here I'm gonna do a very long thread because it's very thin. I think this could actually break a bit, but there is this, like, if you look like this, you see here there's this deeper portion. And I will not show my technique all over again because this is simplified frog manual, but remember to properly use the threading tools. So if you have this type marked with the lines, you always go 1 line, 2 lines, 0 lines. So this one should be the first one you use, this is the second one, this is the final one. And of course I will have to use some longer one for this attachment I shown that I want longer. And the last thing, make sure you dip it in oil, yeah? Don't do it dry, dip it in some oil. So as just a very quick example, I will show you how this goes. I install my one cut tool, I dip it in oil, regular edible oil. I put it in the hole and I will do one full rotation. Yeah, first it must catch, yeah, but then when it starts to guide itself, I will do one full rotation, half rotation back. One full rotation, half rotation back. But don't overdo it, because if you break a threading tool you will not remove it. And the last thing, if it goes too hard, just take it out, screw it out and clean it, you know? Okay, enough. I'm doing my holes and I will be back when they are already completely threaded. Okay, and here we are. So if I take my screws and the conical head goes on this side, the cylindrical head goes on this side. You see they fit nicely. I can lift the gun using those screws, yeah, everything's okay. There will be one more thing though that we will need to modify in that block here, yeah. So you see that I actually cleaned up already everything. I can remove this tissue. So let's now finalize it. Okay, no debris inside. And one part of finalizing it is assembling the hammer assembly together with the new spring. Of course, relube everything. Yeah, so you see that the hammer will be pulled by the spring till the very end, what we need. And it's very simple how to attach it. You just drop it in. Make sure that those tips of the spring go over the trigger pin. push it into the position. Yeah, okay, and my pin is in. I have those anti-rotation links. In your case it could be tiny bit different, but before I attach it, let's test it. And you see that the hammer right now goes all the way till the end, which exactly was the target for me. Yeah, so all is good. Okay, let's cock it. I will assemble my second side of those links. And as I did this right now, so I will now remove this part again and show you what additional modification do we need. So to demonstrate this, I need to attach the bolt catch with the pin. Yeah, so let's do it. The pin will go in here. Okay, I don't need to push it all the way in just to, you know, I don't need to push it all the way in just to have this rotation to be able to show what's the issue. So you see probably half of the attachment hole here is on the receiver side, half is on this insert part, and here the complete attachment hole is in that valve knocker part. If I line it properly and try to add the screw that will attach it here. Now when I attached it, you can see that the bolt catch is in the open position and I cannot push it down almost at all, because here it is just too close to the conversion. So I will need to make it like 1 millimeter more narrow, this arm going into the lever on the conversion. And if I do it, then you know, it will be possible to lower it down. This piece is made of steel. This arm is quite thick. Anyway, it's actuated by plastic part. Yeah, so if you wonder about the durability, it's good enough. Yeah, you can do it, no issues. The important thing is that the bolt catch has to go down. Or if you are afraid, you can file off a bit of conversion, like 0.5 millimeter on the conversion side and 0.5 millimeter on the bolt catch side. It will be also fine. But I'm going for the bolt catch, so let's do it and I'll be back with the result. Okay, now you see that the bolt catch can go down to the maximum bottom position because the arm is basically more narrow. Yeah, it's filed. And this means that I can remove the conversion, let's say. Yeah, remove this conical screw, and I need to completely reassemble this trigger block and drop it back into the gun. So here is everything reassembled. Make sure you know that everything works just fine, and you will need to, of course, put in the mag catch too. You can do it now. Okay, so I did. And now we can take one of the magazines, but first, okay, let's put in the conversion. You can do it from the top, then push it back like I did. Then the magazine, yeah, it should be going in nicely. Okay, let's fit this, and now we can attach our two screws. So again, the conical one we already assembled once. Let's not over tighten it at first. And the cylindrical one. Okay, now we can tighten both of them. And the conversion is assembled. You can see if the magazine goes in nicely. In my case it fits perfectly, so all is good. And this is all for the lower receiver step. Yeah. Now we will move to the upper receiver. And with the upper receiver things will get just a bit more complicated because it can be a little hard to predict what will happen. So first, what we will need to make sure that the conversion attachment is fine with the upper receivers alone, so we can take out the bolt carrier group together with the charging handle and just try to assemble those two together. Yeah, just those two. Okay, reverse what we did previously, so first the front pin, then the back pin, and depending on the version the buffer with the spring may shoot out. Yeah, so also you can take them out, they are not necessary for this step. What you want to see if it closes. Yeah, in my case it closes. It means that the attachment points, the screws and so on are not colliding with anything in the receiver, and for this reason I don't need to modify the receiver. Okay, if you need to modify the receiver, you will need to find out, maybe by looking inside, maybe try to, you know, feel it with your finger, or maybe just take the gun like this and see where the attachment points are. Yeah, on both sides and see what is in the receiver. Here there is some space. If there is not enough space for those screws, maybe you need to file off something from the upper receiver. Yeah, in the GHK conversion I also didn't have to do it. You can watch the VFC assembly guide because there is such an issue and you can find out what I mean exactly. Now the second thing could be the barrel extension. Yeah, with the barrel extension, this is a metal one. This is actually a GHK replaced part. Original was a tiny bit different in this gun. This is not important, let's say, but what you want to make sure is that when you will have the parts connected, so let's assemble this again, that the magazine will still go in into the final position and will click in, because sometimes, like in the GHK video I showed, those barrel extensions have some like elongated ramps on the bottom and maybe they can collide with the feeding lips. So on the magazine I mean, so make sure that the barrel extension doesn't collide with the magazine. And this you can do quite easily by just looking what's going on there and seeing if the feeding lips are in some collision or not when you insert the magazine. Okay, and the last thing will be the bolt carrier. So I will remove the magazine again. So this is the original WA nozzle. You see how tilted this bottom surface is. So you imagine that it will not seal against the seal on the conversion like this. If I put some background here, you see there would be a gap. Okay, so you can just make it flat starting from this front edge here, this one, and just going straight back. Yeah, just a moment with a sandpaper and you will get it done. Remember to polish it, so don't just sandpaper it with rough grain, you know, all the way. Just remove enough material so that you can then polish it, because this has to seal finally. So some water sandpaper has to go at the last stage. Okay, so here you can see how I modified that original WA nozzle. It's in the bolt carrier. You can see it's flat from the bottom. I said about this front edge it was not enough to remove that material. I had to go a little more than this, and I will show you basically how to figure this out. Yeah, if you have the conversion assembled, you need to measure how high is the seal from the top of the receiver here. Yeah, in my case it's 6.6 millimeters, and basically what I did is I also measured in here what's the distance between that surface of the nozzle where it touches to the seal and this surface on the upper receiver, and just cut it down and file it and polished it to be smaller than 6.6. Actually I do like 0.5 millimeter compression here. Yeah, so in my case I have 6.07, so it's, you know, very close to half millimeter of compression between the nozzle and that gasket, and that's okay. Yeah, so I just cut off that plastic. So original WA nozzle works well in this gun overall. Yeah, so when you make sure that it fits, yeah, that it loads, that the bolt carrier goes all the way forward, you can separate the nozzle from the bolt carrier, which you have to do like this, because when you pull the charging handle you pull the nozzle. Yeah, so this will always go back together. You have to grab it with some screwdriver, of course close the handle, and then here you can move away the nozzle from the bolt carrier like this. Yeah, and if I push the nozzle all the way till the final position, I can look inside there, which will be very hard to show, but I can look inside there and see how well the bottom of the nozzle fits against the seal on the conversion. So basically you must do the best possible fitting. Yeah, so again, file the nozzle of the WA from the bottom so that it fits nicely there. Okay, so in my case this third stage was very simple. I had not much to do. Now for the fourth stage, we will remove the trigger guard. This is pretty standard. Button in the front, pin in the rear. When you remove those parts you can just put them aside because we will not need them anymore. There is a screw dip in there you need to undo it. Okay, so I'll screw it out. It will take a moment. It's removed, and depending on your gun you can have different pistol grips, different types of screws, yeah. So just put this aside. In my case this is like MWS, but it had the nut in the receiver. And good will be to take off the upper, and here we will attach the hose first. For this we will need to take out the conversion for a second to make it easier, and for this we will remove the conversion to make it easier. So we already did it a few times, yeah, so just undo the screws again. And when we have the conversion in our hands, we remove this nut here and we will connect the hose. You can remove the spring with the sleeve already, you don't need it, and you need to put the nut on that shorter tip near the trigger guard and then connect it to the conversion. It will require some force, you need to push it all the way in. So this is how it looks like, you see, all the way in, and then put back this nut. And you really want to tighten this nut correctly here, like it should be very tight. Now you can imagine that conversion will go back here and the trigger guard has to fit into the receiver, so those two holes where there was the button and the pin, they need to match with those two. If I check like this quickly, probably I'm misaligned, so I will need to push or pull the trigger guard on the hose back and forth to make it in proper position, and then I can try the assembly with the conversion. I can try to put it in here. Okay, and you see I'm a bit off, so again I need to move the trigger guard more to the front, and now you see I'm perfect, or maybe you don't see, but here the holes are aligned and here the conversion fits nicely. So I can reattach that conversion, and always remember to position or to screw the conversion in place with magazine inserted so that it's well positioned, yeah? Okay, now we need to take the pistol grip and drill a hole in the front of it, in the middle, both height and let's say width. And I already prepared a Magpul grip that is going for this gun, yeah, so I don't use the original one. But you need to make a hole. The hole's outer diameter is 6 mm. I suggest do it as big as possible. And basically what we will be doing right now is we need to pull the hose through the hole like this, and of course also insert the screw from the inside to screw it into the receiver. We will need to bend the hose away. Maybe it's easier to, you know, do it outside of the gun like this, put the screw in and basically screw it back in place. Be careful not to lose any springs for the fire selector position and so on. Depends on your gun, maybe you have them accessible here or not. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so I will do it off screen. And then the last step, I'm kind of doing this in a little maybe rush, but this is a simplified manual. Yeah, you can look also into the GHK manual to get some more details. I will screw in those 3 screws through those holes in the receiver into the trigger guard with some glue added so that it's kept in place. And this I will show in a second. Yeah, so I just prepare all of it. First assemble the pistol grip here. Okay, so you see I screwed it in place, the hose exits, and then I will just take this and then I take those 3 headless small screws, apply some glue, and I screw them into those 3 holes. One is here in the front, one is here in the back, and one is on the other side. I will do just one because I want to be very quick here. Yeah, when you are tightening them, and when tightening them, they make them flush with this metal part, not overdo it because it will crush the hose. So my screws are in place, and right now I will finish the hose. For this I will use that sleeve with the spring that was originally on that hose, and the QD connector and the heat shrinking tubes. However, this part is not repeated in all the manuals because it was recorded as a part of a special video called Frog Appendix, where I show how to do it. It's exactly the same for all the rifles. I'm not gonna repeat it all over again in this video, so it's linked in the description. Just open it, watch the video, and we will know how to do it. Then after we finish, right now you can do additional tests. Normally I do them much earlier in the work, so to say, but it's such a non-standard build that, you know, it's a non-standard process. You can check it already when you attach the hose to the conversion, not necessarily with the pistol grip and the finalized hose in place. What you want to do is to like charge the gun, yeah, and see if you blow into the connector or the hose itself, if you are able to blow the air through the gun, yeah. So you can listen. I am not able to, and if I pull the trigger on semi or auto, I should be able to blow the air through right now, which I hope you could hear. And then when I charge it again, I should not be able to blow the air through, which I am not able to. So the valve and the trigger mechanism, all of it works correctly. So in my case, I converted the gun, I have the conversion in place. I can also check the bolt catch very quickly, so how it should behave when I connect the magazine or like insert the magazine. When I pull the bolt carrier group to the back, the bolt catch should be springy, so to say. It should very lively go up, yeah, which happens in my case. So you see how it went up just next to the lugs of the nozzle. Let's do it again. Yeah, you see how it goes up. In this gun it doesn't really click or anything, but probably it's a matter of the gun, yeah. If your bolt catch doesn't actuate, most likely there is some friction between it and some parts, so you'll have to look around on the conversion if, you know, you did not file off something in such a way that there is not enough clearance or something, yeah. Other than this, we can take the gun, we can connect the pressure and do some testing. So let's find out right now how it runs. With our WA gun prepared, everything's ready, everything's tested. We need to do some tests with the pressure, of course. So reloop the gun, first thing. Second thing, make sure that the valve knocker is not depressed. And in general, in AR-15s, you can do it this way, that for example, I pull the trigger right now, my hammer is depressed, so I am not able to put it on safe. I charge the gun, and right now I am able to put the gun on safe. So this is how I can recognize that the valve is resetted. Not in all replicas it works, yeah? In this one it works. Of course, you see I put some nice furniture on, and now the HPA. Maximum 145 psi, I'm using 120 on Redline Mini SFR. Let's connect it. Okay, and we need to listen for any hissing or anything from the conversion or the connection to it. In my case, everything's fine, so we can take a couple of semi shots, observe if everything works fine. So all is good. We can do some full auto. All is good. You can do also some tests with the magazine. You need to check if the bolt catch basically works, yeah, uninterrupted. Let's see. Yeah, so no issues. And you can also load the magazine with BBs and see if, again, the functionality is okay, yeah. So if I hold the bolt catch down, I will simulate this, yeah, not to spread BBs everywhere. I will shoot a bit on out and then I will release the bolt catch to see if it catches. Yeah, and everything works. So this way we did the conversion of WA system gun with the GHK conversion. You saw it required a little non-standard approach, maybe non-standard operations, but in general it's very similar to all the other conversions that we did so far, and especially GHK for a reason. So there will be no dedicated conversion for WA coming. This one is just good enough. You can see I already chronoed the gun, by the way, and I know that it shoots 1.1 joules. It has no NPAS, but anyway, it's meant to be CQB gun for Polish limits, which it is perfectly matching. Right now we completed the, let's say, the main target, which was making the 4 big systems for the HPA, which is the VFC, WE, MWS from Tokyo Marui and GHK, but also WA with the old guns and the new ones is also running on these conversions. So all of them use the exact same magazine, as you know. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, of course I can support with the answers. Leave comments, leave likes, let me know what you think. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, all this stuff. Enough for today. Thank you so much for watching, and may the power of GBBR be with you.